This questioner says, "Hello, Dr. Craig. My professor has presented these two refutations of the Kalam cosmological argument. Number one, he says that it begs the question. The first reason the Kalam argument is invalid and refuted is that it creates the logical fallacy of begging the question. This is because the phrase, whatever begins to exist, is not presumed to accommodate anything other than God, and that puts God into the definition of the premise of the argument that is supposed to prove his existence in the first place." Did you get that?
No, that is very strange. I'm troubled that a professor would say something that incoherent. What I have heard, Kevin, is people on the internet say is that the premise, everything that begins to exist has a cause, begs the question because it assumes that the universe has a cause. And that's supposed to be the conclusion of the argument. Now, what these folks have failed to understand is the difference between begging the question and a deductive argument. A deductive argument, by its very nature, is simply an unpacking of what is already implicit in the premises. But that doesn't mean that it's question begging. For example, if I say, all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal, I'm not begging the question in asserting the first premise. That's just the nature of a deductive argument, that the premise is implicit, that the conclusion is implicit in the premises and is derived from it then by logical rules of inference. Begging the question means that your only reason for adopting a premise is that you already believe the conclusion. That's what it means to reason in a circle or beg the question. And that's not why, for example, you would believe all men are mortal. That would be based upon medical evidence and biological evidence about the human body and so forth. It's not begging the question. Similarly, the argument for everything beginning to exist having a cause would be based upon this metaphysical position that something cannot come out of nothing, that things don't just pop into being without having causes. So it's not because you believe the conclusion that you believe the premise. It's not begging the question in that circular way. Rather, it's simply the nature of a deductive argument that the conclusion is implicit in the premises and needs to be made explicit by the logical rules of inference.